West Coast, so cold, the streets we call home. Lost souls in a world that's so cold. Started at the bottom, we don't need no one.
Aye. Been with my girl since day one, don't give a fuck from the fake ones. Yeah, I've been on the grind, that grind don't stop till they pick me up or put me in a box. We come from nothing, been through the struggle, that's real, yeah that's real. And don't talk to me about trenches, cause we've been through them all. Hit a rough patch, had holes in the wall. Got a couple kids in the picture now, we gotta pick shit up just to make them proud. Still these gromps wanna chat crap, trying to act bad. I remember 15 trying to get to a bag, now 23 trying to get to a stack. Need to feed my fam, that's facts, ayy. Yeah, we come from nothing, broken homes with nowhere to go. Streets to streets and they...
Hey guys, Bogan's on a budget here, doing another episode on the wagon. This one's going to be a short one. I'm installing a oil pressure gauge. It's a SAS Digital. So, I've already started unboxing it, but obviously you got your gauge, sensor, you need an adapter there, a brass adapter. So this adapter is generally for Ecotax. You put your new sensor in here, the original one here, all fits well, it doesn't touch belts. So as you can see, you just screw that one into the side here. So fairly simple. And then if you've got an auto, I don't know if you can see where that, where are we? Where my blue line there is running for my boost gauge, there's already a hole. You can run your wiring through there. So that grommet is, if you have an auto, you'll have a grommet. Whereas if you've got a manual though, that grommet won't be there, because that's where your master cylinder goes. So with a manual you may have to find somewhere else. Some people go through that grommet where the grey tape is. That's your main harness grommet. A lot of people will put a simple hole through the grommet, like I've done on that one, and that works. Just the other depending factor is where you're going to run your gauge. So I have a gauge pod in the centre, so that's where mine will end up. Some people run them just in the corner here. It's all, you know, up to the person itself, I guess. But for me, I'll be running it in the centre. I've also got a new digital boost gauge to replace the analog. I'm going to be moving the airbag gauge, because as you know this is on airbags. So I'll replace this one for the digital, stick the oil pressure here, and I guess you'll just have to wait and see where the airbag gauge ends up. It's a bit of a secret, that one. So anyway, it's a fairly simple install. I've pre-done the wiring that has to go into the gauge. So this one here, that end clips onto your new sensor. I've just taped this to a piece of wire so I can run it through the grommet. You can use screwdrivers, you can, you know, this is basically, this wire is the same as an old coat hanger, metal coat hanger. But yeah, anything long and straight basically, like a long Phillips head screwdriver, flat head, wire, yeah, pretty much just anything that's over about 10 to 12 centimeters long. And yeah, you'll get it through. I'm going to have to check with Cam also. I'm not 100% sure if I still use this line all the way into the firewall, where I showed you that grommet, where that's going through, so that this line may potentially come out. But so this episode on its own though will be just the gauge install. As you can see, the motor's not quite finished. I think we got to part 3 for that. So there will be obviously more videos on finishing that up. You know, radiator, airbox, radiator hoses, power steering lines. I've got to refit my transcooler down in here. That's what these are for. It's got a couple of pulleys, like the power steering pulley to go on, belts on. So there's still a few little bits and bobs there that aren't completed as of yet on the engine side of things, but yeah, like I said, that'll be in a different episode. So that'll be like the build series of the L67 wagon. But yeah, this is just a how-to on gauges. Alright guys, we'll crack on. So like I said, just get yourself something nice and straight. As you know, I've already got the hole, so it's a little bit easier for me. You pretty much just find your hole, poke it through the grommet, and because I am using essentially the master cylinder grommet, that is further to the inside of the car. So what you'll find is when you go to look on the inside of the car, it's right there, rather than, you know, say using the main harness grommet. And then you'll have to sort of go digging up the footwell of the car. But if we come to the inside, it ends up right there. So then all you do is, once you've got it through, you can just take the tape off, and then you'll end up with just the harness for the gauge once it's untaped, and you can slide your wire or your screwdriver or whatever it is that you've used, slide that straight out and your loom will stay. So what I might get Cameron to do, if I can find him. Cam? Cameron? If I had a way to prop the camera up, it'd be good, but this might work. Sort of. That's alright, that'll do. We are buggins on a budget, so we improvise a lot and make it work. So you just find the end of your tape, wherever that is. So I put a bit extra on, just for the extra precaution, but there you have it. There's your wire, there's your loom plug, so you can just start pushing that back through, like so. And then what we can do is I'll pass you to Cameron, and he can show you taking the wire out from the grommet. So if we go up here, obviously
Jake's got it all on tape now, so I can pull this wire through. If you have a look, there I'm pulling the wire out. Like that, the wire's out. That's out of the way. So now Jake can run it to where he's got to. So obviously, I did this in mine, but I got to redo mine. So I'm not sure if Jake's going to do it how I did it. So Jake will sort that out afterwards. So obviously Jake's going to do his routing.
So then guys, it's just a matter of working out, okay, how you're going to run your loom for the plug that goes to the new sensor. I'm going to tip it sideways behind the heater core lines. So I'll run it in the same direction as my boost gauge, boost line. And of course, just my luck, has come out of the grommet. Typical. I don't have the best luck, so I'm kind of used to it. Things always fail on me. But that's all good. Like I said, my hole's fairly easy. I think I had my amp wiring possibly going through it or something of the sort. That's probably why it's a bit big. I run 0 gauge, so I do run big line. Oops, filming my hand, and I've zoomed all the way in. Good going, Jake. Silly me. So I'm just rerunning that line in there. I didn't theoretically need the wire to put it through. That was more of a demonstration of, you know, if you've made your own hole, that's the easiest way to do it, I suppose you could say. So it's just going to be a matter of feeding that wire back through, or the excess. So we got that a fair way in. So I'll just show you. Once you've worked out what direction you want to run that, then you just come across. You've got your new plug here, and you click it in. I'm going to have to do a little bit of bending on the power steering line, but so as you can see, there's your new sensor, your adapter, the original sensor, which you do need to keep, new plug, and then finding the hole, being a bit of a bitch. And like so, that's clipped on. So yeah, I'm probably going to run it I may even unplug that and just move it the way it's ran. I'm not overly happy with it. So what I might potentially do is these trans lines here, I might run it underneath the exhaust. That's my hand. I might run it behind the exhaust, the extractors, underneath through here. Attach it to these trans lines here, which end up here anyway, right at the sensor. So I may just fix it to those lines. That way it's up out the way, it's not going to touch the hot extractors and stuff like that. So I'll stick you on the tripod at the moment, and I'll come back when I'm done. So I'm just going to grab a few cable ties. Some will call it dodgy, but don't call me a certified cable tie technician for nothing. And once again, we are Bogans, we are on a budget, so we're doing it the Bogans way.
Mattress straight?
Small.
Yeah, but was it comfier than the other one?
Yeah.
Yeah or no?
Yeah, it was a bit better.
Does it need a top up? Softer?
See, I didn't mind it. I don't know about Alex, but I'm like you. I've gone from soft to stiff now, so
Oh,
I kind of need the stiffer.
Oh, that's why you could have slept in my bed.
Oh.
'Cause that bed's
I'm
not
not sleeping
me.
in another adults' beds.
And wild bees like that's not going to be used anyway. So I'll wash the boat, just protect her, put those sheets on it. It was to do with some kind of work.
So, as I said, I've just used cable ties and fixed my new loom to the trans lines. So from here, over the top of the filter, along the trans lines, down in through the grommet, this is the loom here, then it's just a matter of running it up behind there, up the dash and out through there to the new gauge. So other than that, guys, I mean that's the slightly harder part. Other than that, you've got these little looms here in the box which run from the gauge. So these are actually, you can piggyback this series of SAS gauges, you can piggyback. So let's open up this bag. I do normally have a workbench, but a little bit messy at the moment, unfortunately, which I'm not proud of, but shit happens. So this one here is if you, I think that's like if you wire it in yourself. So it comes with that loom. I think this one actually replaces the one we've put in. Then you got two more here. This is a piggyback loom. So if you're running multiple in this series of SAS gauges, you can actually, this plug here, the piggyback loom, can go, you plug that in there, alright, and that carries the power from this gauge to the next. So say for instance like my boost gauge, I can actually piggyback them. I don't have to bring a new power down to the fuse box, you know, or to the battery or anything like that. So I only have to run one lot of power to the one gauge. So that's your for changing the settings on your gauge, so your colours, the type of beep or sound you want as the alarm, whether you want a beep for when you're pushing the button, stuff like that. And then yeah, that one goes down to the fuse box. So this one will plug into the other side. So that plugs in there. This one down to the fuse box. That carries from the gauge to the next one. Every gauge has the 2 ports at the bottom. So theoretically I could have 10 gauges for instance in the car and only need to run the one power to the fuse box, because you could just continue to carry over. So they're a really good gauge. They look well. Me and Cameron have used them a couple of times. We had one in the Club Sport. We've had one in his Caprice. Both of them will have their own build series. There's a few secrets that we got to show you to do with the clubby. So they'll be revealed in a later episode. We're going to have a full build on the Caprice amongst our other cars, but they're the next couple.
There's also a full build on my daily wagon that will be coming soon. I'm keeping that one under wraps at the moment. Not many people know what's going on with that, but if you do follow me on TikTok, it is Mr. HSV772. You can keep up to date on some sneaky parts of the builds that we're doing. I do post some sneaky stuff on there.
And he's been getting quite a lot of views too, so wagons are life, we have since learned.
Yes.
That's why I've been so stressed and eager to get mine back on the road. But like I said to you yesterday, I didn't want to get it on the road until, you know, everything was ready to go. I don't do things in halves. When I go, I do full send all at once. So it's been a long process to building up. I think it's been off the road for about a year.
Yeah, coming
or
up
so. So it's been really fucking hard. It's also, you know, yes, I do have a lot of other cars, but at the moment they're all projects. The only car I really had that was, you know, drivable, just get in and drive, was the wagon. We had a lot of troubles finding the proper L67 loom and ECU. So that was the longest and most grueling part of the process. We had this motor in previously, about a year ago, trying to run it on a standard loom and ECU, but I had a trans problem. Turns out it wasn't the trans itself, it was actually only a fuse in the engine bay fuse box.
You don't know, they have
So they actually have a trans fuse,
trans
which
fuse up the top up in here.
I didn't know. One of the mini blade fuses
So
controls the
15
trans.
amp.
So it turns out my transes were fine, and that was the only issue I had. So what it was doing was, I had no first gear, I had second and I had third, and no fourth gear. So I had no first gear and no top gear, so it was really sluggish off the line, really struggled to get going. Once you were going, you know, about 50 k's, it would, you know, you'd start to feel your power, it'd sort of feel normal. So you had your second and your third, and then, like I say, doing 110, which I just didn't do because it was doing about 3,500 revs, being the fact that we only had third gear. So it just became not so much boring to drive,
You couldn't enjoy
but it was unenjoyable, sort of unreliable, I guess. It used a lot of petrol because of the slow start and then the no top gear, so it's over revving. It just wasn't fun, it wasn't a good time, and I said to Cameron, like, you know, excuse the voice break there, I just said to Cameron, like, I think it's time we just sort of park it up for a while, we find all the proper shit. The engine had a few leaks. We had a coolant leak from one of the water pipes. So this one in here, where are we? This one here,
Yeah.
that has a few O-rings. That was leaking. We thought it was a water pump. We had a rear main leak. When we first put the engine in, we had put a brand new rear main,
But it turned out
but it
the
leaked
back
straight
was
away, and we later found out that with Ecotex, pretty much you take the rear main off, like the backing plate off once, and it twists and bends and goes out of shape. So then you put a new rear main in it, put your plate back on, seal it up, you think, oh yep, no worries, it's all good, it's got brand new stuff. It leaks straight away. So that's a common issue with Ecotex, is if you do a rear main and you take the plate off, you have to replace the plate. You can do a rear main without taking off the backing plate, and it'll save you a lot of time and effort, but we had previously taken that off, not realising. So in the end, it cost me about $400 for a new rear main plate and gasket together. It was ready complete. All you had to do is bolt the plate on and away you go. You can get them quite a bit cheaper off eBay if you don't care about waiting, but I didn't want to wait. So I have a supplier at Sprint Autos. So I got it straight away, then and there. I also got the sump gasket at the same time, this being the big fat sump plug, like the bigger size sump plug. It had to run the metal gasket, so that in itself was about $130. So, you know, it all adds up. We're already at over $500 there. Then I was like, well, we've gone this far, we might as well replace all the front gaskets.
Yeah, resealed it all up.
Yeah, so all new gaskets in the timing cover, new water pump.
Water pump gasket.
You know, that sort of stuff. I was like, well, again, I don't do things in halves. If we're going to do it, let's make the motor killer. Let's fucking make sure there's going to be no issues. That way, when we bring it back on the road, we're not facing, oh look, it's sprung a leak here or we sprung a leak there. We can be confident in knowing that it's going to be good to go. So yeah, just a little bit of an update there. As it is, I've already gone into too much detail. Like I said at the start, this was meant to just be for the gauge. But, you know, I figured why not update, so I'll stop the video here. We're at 30 minutes. I will make this a two-part video, unfortunately. I don't like creating long videos, it becomes boring. So
I'll should be finished, almost finished. Fucking.
Most people that will be watching this won't already have the gauges set up in there. They'll be starting fresh. So what I'll do now is I'll stop the video. While that's paused, what I'll do is I'll remove the old gauges, get that stuff out of the way, so that when I start a part 2, it's just straightforward. You can see easier. You don't have to sit there watching me remove the old stuff. Yeah, so it'll just make it a lot easier visually for you to be able to watch and learn and see the way I'm doing it. So yeah, like I said, we'll cut it off here. We're Buggins on a budget. Cam, Jake, have fun.